Well, our next presentation will be on how to grow the internet in order to reach the unconnected part of the world. Please welcome Jane Coffin. Jane is our Senior Vice President and leading the Internet Growth Project. Jane?
Yes, good afternoon, good evening for some, and thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I think as many of you know that it's all about you, and it's all about the work we do with partners around the world to build a bigger, better internet. I'm going to speak about how we build and promote the internet through certain types of projects that we have here with all of you. And it's important to note that we would love to know more from you about how you think you could work with us on some of these projects. So next slide, please. And for those of you, sorry, I should have said, for those of you that don't know me, I am an expert in many of these areas myself. I may not be the person who writes an algorithm, but I've been advocating for connectivity since 1997. I've worked for a government. I have worked in the field working with people on the ground to build regulators, to build policies, regulations, laws, and spent many years advocating both from a government side and then from a company, AT&T, at the ITU. So I'm very familiar with intergovernmental organizations, but also have a keen understanding of the importance of listening to local people about local situations. You know better than we do. And so it is a very important thing to listen and to then figure out what works best in each region, each country, each place. So we wanted to show you this slide. It's important to see that when we do come together, we start to build trust more. And with that trust, you can do many things. You can find local champions to help you with your work. You can build a better network in your country through the chapters, and we can do more together. It takes a big community. So you'll often hear us talk about community. And when we say that at the Internet Society, it can be the Internet Society direct community, all of you through the chapters. It can be our organizational members that believe in what we do, so they support us. They don't tell us what to do, right? I think it's really important that that's clear. They can give us ideas, but we are a principle-based organization. We work with all of you, as Nermeen said this morning, from a technical, neutral perspective to come up with ways to make things work, to build more infrastructure and train more people. So the Internet Society community directly is the chapters, the org members, and the individual members. But very importantly, we also know the very strong value of local communities of interest, whether they're internet exchange points, research and education networks, network operator groups, universities, whatever is that local community that you know will help you do your work. They are very important too to everything we do on the grow side. Next slide. Thank you. Just quickly on the agenda, we're going to run down through the projects. And I think, Hannah, you have time on the agenda later for the project leads to go into deep dive, yeah?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
yes.
So I'll just speak to all this now, and you'll hear more from the project leads specifically. They'll give you a far better understanding. I'm going to do high level right now. But do know that as the executive sponsor for the projects, I work closely with the teams. We work on strategic direction. So it's a very close symbiotic relationship, and it's very integrated. So it's a cycle. Next slide. And this is an infographic that I will admit that I stole from Max. Max Stucci, who's on the call here, who you'll hear from later. This shows you that circularity and sort of integration of what we're doing this year. And community networks, infrastructure and community development, we often call it Infracom, which really is IXPs, network operator groups, and NRENs working together to build infrastructure and community, and measurements. So the first three things that you would see if you were going around to the right. Those are the internet growth projects. Next slide. This is just a picture of some of the different places we work. On the left, you'll see that is the community network. It's one of our first in the Republic of Georgia. So we go to high mountain places, we go to desert areas, we'll go anywhere we can get the infrastructure in, and the equipment will be able to stand the temperatures or the environment. It's about the community coming together. Sometimes you use existing infrastructure, sometimes you're putting that in yourself. The middle picture is actually a picture with some of our colleagues from Facebook and also from the DRC, where we have put in an IXP recently with them, and Michuki is in that picture somewhere. And then you see the pictorial of measuring the internet. So again, this is the health of the internet and collection of data. I should say a common theme across all three projects is the importance of collecting data, measuring and counting, looking at how many things we're doing or how many people are involved with what we're doing, but also then the analytics from the metric side of what the impact of, say, a community network is, or what the impact of an internet exchange point for keeping local traffic local. And very importantly, across all three, is anecdotal information. This is data we would get from all of you to tell us about the importance of a thing and how it changed your lives, whether it's a community network, working with a research and education network, or starting a network operator group, or putting in an IXP. Learning about what that did to change people's lives or a company's business is very important to us, because you can't always tell the story just through the data. This is just a good slide to remember that half of the world is not connected, and we still need to continue to build that infrastructure and promote it with governments. That's the policy and regulatory side, or convincing a company to come along with us and with all of you. And so that continued growth is also something that when you're speaking with your government officials or different people that can help influence architectural change or community change, is that it really does take a community of interest to bring this forward. And the data is there to support doing what we do. So you can find more information on this link here. But the critical part of this is that growing an internet is a community effort. It's also a technical effort, as you all know, but it's getting the equipment in, it's mesmerizing people to help you get the rules changed. The laws and regs need to change even more now during COVID. I often say when I'm speaking at different events, COVID is keeping us accountable for what we did not do, but provides us with an opportunity to make change right now. We need to change the rules, the regs, the authorizations, the licensing, spectrum allocation, the way we finance, and the way we look at rules and regulations, because they are usually the old rules that support the old telco system. So the internet, and Joe will speak more about this later, it's an integrated, as you know, network to network. So if you've got small, medium, and large networks, you need small, medium, and large regs and pols, new ones, to be more agile. We're finding things are changing so fast during COVID. Spectrum's getting authorized in places like Ghana overnight and the US. Rules and rights of way to dig trenches for fiber changing overnight. Less traffic equals opportunity to build more things. So right now, less traffic meaning human traffic in cars. But we're seeing that this is a perfect opportunity for us, and we need to be opportunistic to say, with this crazy thing going on the planet, we need to make change, a happy change, and that's building more infrastructure. So next slide. This is part of the team. We can go past this. I want to highlight though for 1 second the very important role that the communications team plays with us, whether they're the local or sort of the liaisons, as we call them. The people inside ISOC who are very much from a region, but work regionally and globally to help us tell the story, whether it's a blog, an article, a video. They're very important to, and social media, of course, which is critical to getting the message out and reaching more people. And of course, the community liaisons here, Hana and others like Aisha, who's here from the APAC region, Thank you for what you do, because without the chapter community folks, we wouldn't be able to reach everyone and inspire people. So thank you very much. Next slide. Next slide. Sorry, just another picture. Connecting the unconnected, as I said earlier, half the planet's connected, half the planet is not. Some people never want to be connected, but there are other people that we need to connect for socioeconomic development. COVID is showing us this right now. Children need to study from home, people need to work. It really is the lifeline. And it's something that around the world, and I even want to tell you from this side of the planet, there are lots of unconnected people, and we're working through different proceedings with the team. Whether they're regulatory and policy to free up spectrum, or if it's to highlight disadvantaged communities. We recently worked with a big project in the United States for the first time ever to see if tribal communities could get spectrum to build small networks. So as you can see here, this is a slide from Max and Juan's team. Connecting the unconnected is a critical thing we do. We often will say it's from the people to the people for the people, or with the community for the community by the community. This is a self-empowering type of project where you can build infrastructure at the local level. As many of you know, it's that quote last mile that is so difficult to get connected. I like to call it the first mile. In any event, Max will talk to you more about the local champions, but it's people like all of you that help us inspire, light a fire, and get people to do something different and create change, which has helped to build these networks. Next slide, please. Max will describe this more, but this is a cyclical thing, just like the circle I showed you earlier. Even though it's a square, it shows you the importance of the interconnectedness here. And Max and Michuki will also draw the link between the Infracom project and the CNs. But there are different stages, and some countries may be highly proficient on policy. Some may have great training. Others may have deployed community networks. Some may be very engaged or not. All of this means that there are different layers and levels, but you can work together to self-encourage or work with others around the world who have built this infrastructure, and then adapt it and adopt it, because no community is the same. Next slide. These are the different pillars of community network development. I'm just going to let you take a look at it here. Max will describe things more, and I don't want to take that away from his presentation. But again, it shows you that there's an interconnectedness, and all of these things work together, like a menu of options to help you do what you need to do. So there's a role for everyone. I think this is really important. You don't have to be the world's best technical expert to help build a community network. We know people who've been inspired by discussions and anecdotal data and just videos and films about connecting communities, and they have helped inspire people to build something. And so you don't have to be, again, a lawyer. You don't have to be an engineer. This is the great thing about a community network. You can show people. I was in a village in Greece where I saw some older ladies in their 70s, 70 years old, learning how to take wires, crimp them, and learn how to build a network. They now feel more a part of their own community because they have built something. So do know this is also a way to inspire youth, but it's a way to inspire older people to come back and feel valued. It was really inspiring for me to work with some of these people. I stayed in this older lady's home. We use the internet to translate things from Greek to English. So next slide. Local champions, again, some pictures of actual people. Max may describe more of this later, or Juan, but it's all about just regular people doing great things. And it really is about the local champions at your local level. Next slide. Examples of where we have some successful CNs. There are many, many more around the world, and we can always provide you with resources. And we're working on some case studies so that you can follow along and easily listen to those videos, or we'll have language translations so people can use. Next slide. This is the Infrastructure and Community Development Project. It is sometimes known as the IXP project because it is a focus on building that infrastructure, but as Michuki or Naveed will describe to you, you cannot do anything on that infrastructure side without a community, and in particular, a strong community of interest. And Hannah, let me know if I have a time here how much time I have left.
Actually, time is over, but
Okay.
I know the topic is very interesting. So
Yeah, I'll take 2 more minutes. How's that? Strong infrastructure and technical community. Michuki will explain this. This is a symbiotic thing working together. Next slide. Part of the high-level objectives, as you see here, more network operator groups, and many of you are part of MENOG. Research and education network, something to think about to strengthen in the region, and sustainable internet exchange points. And then, of course, the global side, which is a community of interest and the technology to support. Next slide. You've seen this picture before. This is an excellent showing you how to work with the capacity building, community, infrastructure, partnerships, and global engagement. Sometimes we have to take the local examples and take them to global places to encourage companies, regulators, policymakers, the United Nations to accept community networks, accept better measurement, and accept better infrastructure development through IXPs. We often will find that we think that people have agreed that IXPs are a good thing, and then they may change their mind. With COVID, some governments are thinking of trying to nationalize infrastructure. We are not keen to see that happen. So hang in there and work with Michuki, Navid, Max Juan, and others if you see that there's a change. Regional work, that's how we get things done, but this all combines into a big global picture as well. Next slide. This is a slide about how we can work with the chapters. I'm going to skip this because Michuki can highlight it more when he speaks. But it's important to know that you have a key role. Measuring the internet, I don't want to not give this enough time, but I will say that this is a great new project about the importance of collecting data to show and work with you all about evidence-based policymaking, evidence-based information about the importance of not shutting down the internet, the importance of new technologies, and we'll probably be doing a new focus area use case on internet exchange points so that we can show why keeping local traffic local is so important. Next slide. This is a team run by Matt Ford, who's the key project lead on it, with a great group of folks inside the Internet Society, but also this is where chapters can play a strong role. If you want to get involved in this, let us know. The team can tell you more. But what we're trying to do is be a source of information. We're not trying to be the one and only, and we're not going to be duplicating efforts from some of the third parties where we're getting that data. So it's telling the stories with data, supporting more scientific audiences, and understanding the measurement data as well, and provide context for the numbers. Numbers by themselves don't tell the story, as I said before. Next slide. And the type of work the measuring team is doing is really important across, and they're working with a lot of really great, like I said, third-party data folks. So this is use case driven. We're calling these focus areas now. I've got to update this. But the focus right now is on shutdowns, new technologies, a project and a way of philosophy about the internet that many of you know that Joe will describe on I1, the internet way of networking, and about resilience. And that one is focused in Africa. But one thing we could do with all of you is think about a Middle East case study on resiliency and what that means. We work with local partners. Partners help us. We never want to be a single point of failure in anything we do. So you broaden the base of the pyramid so that you have a strong support network of whether it's chapters, partners, and others working in the community. And we're going to consume and process that third-party data. We'll be launching the platform. It's called Insights, likely toward the middle of November. And we'll let you know when that is and invite you to the launch. Next slide. Potential for chapter involvement. We would love your feedback on the ongoing work that we're doing. So this might mean a deeper dive with Matt and team, and your feedback on shutdowns, because many of you may feel this in your own region, your own countries, or your localities, the impact a shutdown has on you. We do really want to hear that impact analysis from you and the anecdotal data, and the importance of resiliency, having redundant networks, whether you have an IX or not, or you need more cross-border connectivity. This helps me, Nermeen, and the team think about ways that we can also provide you with more studies or more training. Next slide. And that's it. We just want to repeat, no strategy is going to succeed without the commitment of extraordinary people like you. So thank you very much. I'm sorry I'm over time, but this is really great work that everyone's doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation. We do have a few questions in the chat. I know that Max said he will go, in details within the session, but I'm not sure whether the people who ask these questions will be in the community network session. We have a question from Nadira in Palestine. Asking what hinders the community networks to kick off in the Middle East countries, and how can chapters overcome such constraints?
I think the critical thing, Nadira, is to make sure from just a fundamental perspective that they're understood as helping provide complementary access. They're not a threat to current network operators, and they are not illegal. There was a big, remember when we were together, you and me, and with Nermeen in Dubai at the plenipotentiary. We heard from some governments, they thought they were illegal things. They thought they were trying to go around the current system. What they really are is a cheaper, faster, better way, and really much faster to put them in the network and put them in many times. With communities for that local access, that last mile access, or even complementary access in cities. There's a hugely successful project in New York City. You would be surprised at some of the people that did not have connectivity during COVID who needed it rapidly. And this one project where we have people running across the rooftops of New York, independent, they do talk to the FCC, but they're using unlicensed spectrum. So this is another thing to think about in your regions, and Juan and Max can talk to you more, but really that Wi-Fi spectrum, changing the game on authorizations to make it faster is really important. But as far as the local level goes, Max will talk to you more about this. You really need to find the people that can help move through the barriers, break through the bottlenecks. The time is now to move, to change, whether it's licensing or spectrum or authorizations or universal service funds. There's this old network of rules and regs. It feels like chains sometimes around your neck or around your arms because you can't move through the process quickly. You can't get the infrastructure deployed, or you can't get the equipment. So what we're trying to do is lighten that up and create the freedom to put these infrastructures in, and so that and work with the governments so that they understand that this is an important new thing to do. You'd be surprised at the level of support we have right now in the ITU and the G20, and also regional organizations.
Yeah. Thank you, Christine. Thanks.
Thank you, Jane. Well,
I'm sorry, Jane. I'm sorry.
No worries, Nadira. It's okay.
No problem, Nadira. Well, I guess you already answered within your answer to the first question to the second question from Nadira. Would it be possible to work with the telecom companies if it's not possible to change rules? So, and I know we have a session on CN later. Just for the sake of time, I'm just, I know these are interesting questions, but we will go in details later. We had another question from Raja. How can we get more people to work from home taking the benefit of the internet? I'm not sure if we can answer this one right now, Jane. Is this?
I think Max could help you with that. It's definitely about building more infrastructure, but also training. And I think the report that Nermeen mentioned will help you greatly with this. But I think let's hear from Max later. And then if that doesn't, if you have more questions, then I think Nermeen could help with that report, some of the content there. And we're working closely with Nermeen to get that report out.
Great. Well, Mohib, yes, the presentations can be shared later. And we had a question from Zahir actually asking that measuring the internet is very interesting. How can we participate?
Send me and Matt an email and we will work with you, and we'll of course work with Hannah. The three of us can work together to get you involved, because I feel like there's a really important role for chapters to play to help us with the local measurements and metrics analysis later. But the health of the internet where you are.
Great. Thank you very much, Jane.